Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison, and I want to welcome you to this session of Humanity Rising. As we expand our ever-growing conversation about the extraterrestrial presence on our precious little planet called Earth. Yesterday, we had an extraordinary encounter, I would say, with Linda Tucker, who is the protector of the white lions in South Africa, who saved that extraordinary species, that apex predator species from extinction, literally, virtually single-handedly. And the inspiration that she brought, both in terms of what she's doing to preserve this species, but also in detailing the cosmic connection from deep antiquity between the star system Sirius and the white lions, and the way the ancient Egyptians understood that the white lions had a particular role to play in serving as a conduit between cosmic intelligence and human intelligence. Today, we want to continue that exploration, because as we humans take in that we are not alone, what we're going to learn is that we're the last species to realize that. But the white lions and many other species, the dolphins, the whales, and now, as we're going to discuss today, the trees and the plant kingdom, have all been aware from the beginning that we are in a cosmic web of life, an interconnected matrix of intelligence and communication and love that nurtures life at every level. We humans used to know that. Every great spiritual tradition has as its origin point a story of creation that recounts, in whatever way that culture remembers, that our Earth and we humans were created by somebody else. It's an extraordinary thing to take in, that the origin of human spirituality is an account that the intelligence that created us was from somewhere else. We are star beings. We are made of star dust. And the great opportunity of our generation and our lifetime is for humans, after millennia of forgetfulness, to remember the mother tongue and the capacity that each and every one of us has instilled in the depth of our being to communicate with other sentient beings. And it is to the trees that we are now going to turn, a species that many of the ancients and even contemporary spiritual traditions have long considered to be that particular species that actually carries the collective memory of our planet and has a very specific and powerful capacity to communicate with the cosmos. And if we would but listen, our trees have a lot to tell us. So it's within that spirit that I want to invite back again to Humanity Rising two people who I absolutely love, Basha Alexander and Jim Conway, who are tree whisperers par excellence and have dedicated their lives to protecting trees, nurturing trees, communicating to us forlorn humans that have forgotten about the trees, how important they are. So, Basha and Jim, welcome back to Humanity Rising, and we're all looking forward to your presentation today.
Oh, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us on.
See you again.
It's
and
good to be with
we
you.
love you so much too. We love your passion for trees and your passion for all of this work and moving forward into this wonderful new world of recognizing that we're not alone. We feel, and we're going to talk at the end of our talk, we're going to talk about that that connection and the being able to connect with the non-human intelligences right here on our planet. Great. So shall we begin? I need to share our screen. There. All right. So the name of our talk is Humanity and the Plant Kingdom Together at a Turning Point. And so again, please stay on if you possibly can to the end, where we're going to talk about this connection of the plant kingdom to universal intelligences and non-earth energies. So these Chinese characters are often translated as opportunity in crisis. But thanks to Emily Chang here at LinkedIn, if you want to check out her article on this, the more accurate translation is actually danger and a crucial point when something begins to change. And that is the point we are at right now, this dangerous and crucial point. So let's begin by asking, what's the danger?
Well, the danger is that trees get stressed. And one of the major stresses for trees right now is climate extremes. Stronger storms, extreme heat, temperature fluctuations. These are happening all over the globe. More winds, straight winds, flooding, all of these things on this list are happening all over the globe. And what they do is they stress the trees. And then just because a tree is green doesn't mean it's healthy on the inside. So what happens? Stress compromises or disconnects the internal functionality of trees. So let's just use, for example, let's say the circulation gets blocked in a tree because the tree is stressed. So tree can't uptake water and nutrients correctly, can't get the water and nutrients up into the leaves, can't make enough food for itself. If it doesn't have enough food, it can't break that food down to drive enough circulation for itself, and then so on and so forth. And the tree gets caught in what I call is a negative cycle of not making enough food, insufficient circulation, and then little to no growth. And what does little or no growth lead to? Not making enough food. So the tree just keeps going around and around and around and gets caught in this negative decline cycle. What's a stress tree look like? Well, this is just some examples, but generally the canopy gets very thin and they lose leaves very often up top first. And then the rest of the canopy, a little lower, begins to lose leaves. Why? Because the tree can't support those leaves at the top of the tree. The tree just can't support those leaves. So what happens is leaves just don't grow. And those branches just begin to die out. And that's what happens. Why does that happen? Again, because the tree doesn't have enough food in order to support those upper parts of the tree. Also, as I said, the whole canopy starts to get thin. An important piece here is, however, is that a tree gets stressed and it won't necessarily show the stress the first year. What happens is it might lose 10% of its leaves the first year. You'll never see that. Next year it loses another 10%. That's 20%. You'll still never see it. Get about 3 or 4 years up the road, all of a sudden, oh, my tree is really sick. Okay, I have no leaves up top. The canopy is starting to look thin. That's when the stress really shows through. So the tree has already gone through several years of not being healthy before the stress really begins to show. That's the key point. Go ahead.
So we are asking everyone this question: how does humanity get to a secure future on a livable planet? Well, people are doing these practical actions, reducing emissions, stopping pollution, using technological advances, even making new plantings. They're needed, but they're old thinking. They're only half of what is really needed. And you see, there's a downside in these actions that most people don't realize. And that's these actions won't restore the inner health to already stressed or declining trees, plants, crops, the very food we eat, forests, or ecosystems. And this also includes new plantings. See, young trees, maybe they're not planted right, or even if they are, they can go into decline. So replanting is not the panacea that a lot of people think it is. It's not really an ideal solution. So these practical actions are inside of an old mindset.
It's like shuffling the chairs. All I'm doing is doing things a different way inside of the old mindset. And it's really not helping what the real problem is.
So we, humanity, and the plant kingdom together, we're in this boat together. We're at this dangerous and crucial point where something could begin to change. What is humanity's real danger? And we'll give you a hint. It's not the degraded environment. It's the old mindset. Humanity's real danger is the 17th century thinking, and it's even more ancient than that, that caused the degraded environment. And then that thinking continues even now as humanity's mental operating system. So in the early 1600s, Sir Francis Bacon, who was one of the key figures in what's now called the Enlightenment period, said these things. He said, nature should be hounded in her wanderings and made into a slave to the new mechanized devices. And he proposed that nature's secrets should be tortured from her by science. Oh my goodness. Well, so that set the foundation for these now current thoughts, beliefs, and actions. People can control, exploit, dominate, and manipulate nature. My science makes me superior to nature, and I am separate from nature. Well, these beliefs generate actions, and the actions continue even in the face of these contrary results, the pollution, the climate extremes, and people feeling separate from nature. Well, why? Why in the world do people keep doing things that have such bad results? Well, let me show you this self-reinforcing cycle. This is the cycle of beliefs and actions that has resulted in the ecological damage. People think they know how nature operates, and believe they can control her. That's one of the core beliefs. And then action flows from that. People interfere with the life energy flow in trees and plants. Did you want to say something about that first?
No, I'll talk about that later.
Okay. People exploit, disrupt, overuse products, do excess building, and people's solutions to problems. This is the thinking here. People's solutions to problems are based on that assumption that, oh, we know how nature operates and we can control nature. So then what's the result? Ecological damage occurs and has occurred. Trees go into decline. Ecosystems are degraded through pollution, climate extremes, etc. And because people think they know how nature operates and believe they can control her, they begin to interfere more. They exploit, they disrupt, they overuse products, they build, and they think that controlling and knowing how nature operates is the solution to their problems. So more damage occurs. And because people think they know how nature operates and believe they can control nature, okay, you're getting the idea here that there is definitely a self-reinforcing cycle going on. And frankly, there's a little bit of arrogance in that as well. So what can begin to change?
We can start to think about things differently. That's the major change that needs to take place. What we can do is start to think about working with the trees and the plants, working with them from the inside out, not the outside in. What a lot happens, well, let me go to the next slide and I'll explain this. Go ahead, next slide. So what goes on here is conventional tree care approaches. They primarily work on the outside of the plant, or the tree. They're working on pruning, they're digging, they're interfering with the roots, they're putting products on the plant with absolutely no regard to what's going on the inside of the plant. They have no knowledge of what's going on. If the circulation is not going on, operating right on the inside, they don't know that. If the plant is not making enough food for itself, they don't know that. So all that, those inner functions can be broken. And what we're trying to do is work with the trees by just putting things on the outside. It's a human agenda, human priority, and human planting. Planning. So what's this old mindset or beliefs? Trees, this is a good kind of a good summary. Trees are just things, they're not alive. I get a lot of this. They do not have brains like people do. So asking a tree for its input is just crazy. Believe me, I hear a lot of this. Okay. Trees can't recover health, so cut them down if they look sick. That's another one. That's a real big one. When a tree is sick, oh man, just got to cut it down. That's it. It can't ever recover. The other thing is I know best, and my products and services are the only things available for tree care. Well, that's it, dumping products on the outside. Science says do certain things no matter what. Okay. Again, this is all outside in. And then the last thing is really in the old mindset is what climate extremes. So, but that's all the old mindset and the old beliefs.
So these old mindset and beliefs, they're very damaging, but even they are a bit superficial. What is really core to being human is being human-centric. It's very natural for us as humans to be human-centric. We come from our own point of view. It's natural and it's invisible. It's like water to the fish. We don't know when we are being human-centric unless we take the time to pay attention to it. And the current culture just makes it worse. It's all about me and what I want. It's all so much the media messages. Me and what I want. We're human. We know it all. We can do whatever we want. So it's even worse now in the current culture. So we'd like to invite you, to challenge you, to recognize, to really expose these old mindset ideas and this human-centric thinking in your own life. And we'll give you a few examples here. So, planting natives. Boy, that's a really good idea. And you think you're doing good by doing that. You are. But think about the way you do that. I want this plant, and I want to put this plant here, and I want this area of my land to be a certain way. That's doing that by human design. That's human-centric thinking. And so you might say, well, what's the alternative? Well, you can ask the land and ask the plants what is in balance for them from their point of view.
And we'll give you an example of that in a few minutes. When dealing with pests, killing them without any regard to their value as living beings in the ecosystem, spray an insecticide on. You have a pest, spray an insecticide on. Never mind you're killing the natural enemy for that pest, or you might be killing the natural enemy for another pest, and therefore another pest is going to become the problem. The other big one here is introducing a pest to kill another pest. All right, that's a big one. Okay, then there's no natural enemy for the pest that you introduced. Yes, it feeds on the one you're trying to kill, but there's no natural enemy for the one you introduced. Therefore, that becomes a pest. All right, so that's a real problem. When planting construction projects, removing trees because they're in the way, big one, of the construction, or not sufficiently protecting the roots. Take a look at this picture. All right, this is a construction project. See those trees? Those roots are absolutely covered with rock and soil. Roots can't breathe. Those trees are gone. They're nice young trees. They're gone. They're dead. They're not going to make it. Even when they take that soil away, it's not going to help them. It's been sitting there a couple of years. It's not coming back because, again, you smothered the roots and killed the trees. And the sad part of this is this construction site happens to be for a new nature center. Okay. And the other piece, old mindset, is when gardening or transplanting, not considering the trait or plant's point of view or the intelligence. So let me give you an example of that. This particular place, this particular lady had these spruces, and they were up close to her patio. And she could see, they were just crammed for space. They had no space to grow. And they're actually growing over the patio and everything. And so she just kind of felt like maybe they needed to be moved. Well, she wasn't going to cut them down. Beautiful lady. Didn't want to cut them down. Most people would just say, oh, just take them out, cut them down. Not her. She said, no, I want to move them. So she said, can you help me? Can you help me with that? Well, I don't do the physical moving, but I can help the trees and the plants. So what I did is I worked with the trees and the plants, and I said, okay, look, you're in this space. Would you like to move? Yes, we'd like to grow. We want to grow more. We need more space to grow and get to be nice big trees. That's what we really want. So I said, okay, I'm going to move to certain places on the property, and you tell me where you want to move. So I walked around to one place on the property. No, not here. Walked around to another place. They said, yes, here. This is where we would like to be. So what I did is then I came the day before they were going to be moved, and I worked with the trees. I work with the intelligence of the trees, repair the internal functionality of the trees, make sure they're healthy. And then I told the trees, look, tomorrow you are going to be moved. And I said, so pull your energy in. Tomorrow's the day you're going to get moved. You'll get moved, and then I will come back the day after and tell you to release your energy. So we worked this out. The trees got moved just fine. I called the guy the night these got moved because I wasn't able to be there. And I said, well, what happened? I said, how did the trees move? And he said, they moved along. They moved very easily. They came out just very simple and very easy. And we had no trouble moving them at all. And I said, well, what do you count that to? And there's quiet on the phone. He says, oh, we thought it was something you did. And it was. So what happened is I went back the next day. I told the trees, release your energy, check them out again. Then all the parts, systems, and functions are all working again. And then they grew on to be nice, healthy trees. But this is what we're talking about. This is real collaboration and co-creation with the trees. This isn't just the humans can have what we want. Okay. It isn't like we can't have what we want. That woman no longer wanted those there, but she didn't want to cut them down. And she could see that they were squeezed for space. Okay. People can have what they want, but you don't have to do it at the expense of the trees or the plants. It can be done in collaboration and cooperation and co-creation with them. Then everybody wins, not just the people. The people win and the trees and the plants win. That's what's important here. Go ahead, Pasha.
So, humanity at this dangerous and crucial point where something can begin to change. So what can change? Humanity can recognize the old mindset that outside in, it's all about me. People can start to recognize when they're in that old mindset and even recognize that valid solutions are based on it. These are valid, nothing wrong with these at all. They need to happen. They're just old thinking. And the recognition of that is important. But now, what's the other half of restoring a livable planet? All that is only half. What do we mean by livable planet? Well, we mean healthy trees, plants, crops, forests, and ecosystems that can withstand climate extremes. In fact, they can't withstand climate extremes unless they're healthy. And the ones that provide these ecological survival services that humanity needs. Well, we say that there are 3 steps to restore a livable planet. So what's step 1? It's think about things differently.
And I like the words of Albert Einstein. We can't solve problems using the same kind of thinking we used when we created those problems. We need to use a higher level of thought. We need to move our mindset to a higher level of thought and to a different level of thought in order to solve these problems.
So what I'd like to do is to take you through a new cycle of a new mindset cycle based on the 3 steps that we mentioned earlier. So step 1, people think about things differently. They believe in respectful and mutual partnership with nature's deep intelligence. Well, what are some of these thoughts and beliefs that make up a new mindset, also called a new paradigm? Well, the first one is crucially important. And I'd like to invite you to really consider this. I am an equal and respectful partner with nature. That's a declaration. That's not just a thought. It goes even beyond a belief. It's something that we can declare in our very beings. So I'd like to invite us now, just take a very brief moment. Close your eyes or leave them open, whatever you're comfortable with. And let's say this declaration 3 times. I am an equal and respectful partner with nature. I am an equal and respectful partner with nature. I am an equal and respectful partner with nature. So that declaration is really about who you are in the matter. It's not a doing, it's a being. It's who you are in the matter. And from that declaration, your behaviors and your whole life can transform.
And that's where you can come from when you're doing the example I just mentioned about the lady with the spruce trees. That's where you want to be, an equal and respectful partner with nature. It's not cutting down the spruce trees. It's working with them and helping them move so that they can live and they can be healthy and you can live and you can be healthy. Okay, that's what the partnership is. Go ahead.
Truly. The second point, the belief that all of nature is alive and intelligent. Well, some people still don't quite believe that, but we have some new sciences we'll tell you about shortly that will really make that quite clear.
And the next one is I collaborate with the tree and plant's life force. What's that all about? All right. So let me give you an example. You all know that the trees and plants take up water and nutrients from the soil through the roots. And then it comes through tubes into the trunk and into the branches and then into the leaves, goes into the leaves. And in the leaves, they make their food. Well, what happens if, I'm just going to give you a example of what happens if the tubes in the branches aren't coordinated with the tubes going into the leaves? Well, I'll tell you what happens. Not enough water and nutrients gets into the leaves. The trees don't make enough food for themselves, and then they can't distribute enough food around the whole plant. So what do? I get in touch with that life force of that tree or plant. Bring my life energy and my life force, and I get in touch with that tree or plant's life force. And I help those tubes in the branches start to coordinate with the tubes in the leaves. Very important. So that they're in sync. That's the right timing, and entrainment together, so they're in the right order. So everything happens in the right order. You see, I used to connect them, just making sure they've connected, clear blockages. Now what I do is make sure that they are in sync and entrainment together. Then what happens is you can get the nice flow into the leaves. The leaves make the food they need. The leaves, you get the food out of the leaves. And those connections that I'm talking about, those happen all over the plant. It's not just between the branches and the leaves. It happens going into the leaves. It happens going out of the leaves. It happens between the roots and the trunk. Okay, it happens between the soil and the roots. All those connections have to be all in sync and entrainment. And the only way to repair that is to work with that life force and the life energy of the trees. That's the only way. You can't put products on the tree to fix that. Okay, you can't do anything on the outside, and you can't physically do it. You can't get in there with the tweezers and try to manipulate it in any way. Okay, that's not going to work. They're too small. Okay, so what this is all about is working with that life force and that life energy of the tree, so that all of those parts are in sync and entrainment together. What I'm finding now is that the trees, I've been working with a lot of evergreens with this past fall and this winter. And what I'm finding is the evergreens, they start to turn greener within about an hour after I treat them. And I'm not the only one that sees this. Other people begin to see this as well. The deciduous trees, I was just in Florida working with some deciduous trees. And what happens there is they more leaves appear, okay, and the leaves appear greener. But the more leaves appear, they come out of the undefined growth space. Long story, I'm not going to go into it, but that's what happens. But they do appear greener, okay, and that's what happens. But that's what we're talking about. It's working with that life force, not interrupting that life force. That's what's so important about working with these trees and the plants, is having our life force and our energy in collaboration with their life force and their life energy, so they can be healthy, and we're able to work with them and communicate with them. And that's what this is all about.
Beautiful. And so Dr. Jim has just described the second 2 points, that trees and plants can be healed from the inside out, and it's possible for nature to return to balance.
We'll talk more
Yeah.
about nature returning to balance
Yeah.
before the end of this
And
discussion.
so
Give you an example of that.
Those are new thoughts, new beliefs that contribute, that are part of this new mindset or new paradigm. So let me take you to the next step in the cycle. The next step is new actions. So here we have all these really powerful new beliefs. We're thinking differently, respectful and mutual partnership beliefs. And we're now able to take new actions. People then stop interfering, as Dr. Jim just talked about. People honor this life force, and people connect, communicate, collaborate, and co-create with nature's beings. Did you want to add something here?
Stop interfering. Again, it's working with that life force, life energy of the trees and plants. Look, you plant a little seed this small, a tomato seed, and that grows a tomato plant with lots of tomatoes on it. I just use tomatoes as an example. Okay, same thing for trees, any type of plant. Okay, it knows how to do that. Okay, we don't need to tell it how to do that. What we have to do is get in sync with that, be in sync and entrainment of our energies with their energies, so we're not interfering with it, but we're working with that life energy and not interfering with it. That's what the key piece is here. And then they can grow on. The trees can grow, and the plants can grow, and they can be very healthy plants without us interfering and saying, "Oh, you got to do this, you got to do that, blah, 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 blah. Put this on the outside. Do this, do that." They don't need that. That's not what they need. Find out what they need by asking them what they need. That's what this is all about. Thank you.
I love your passion.
Yeah.
Yes, and so that's where what we call the 4 C's come in. Let me tell you just a little bit about what we teach here with the 4 C's. So start at the center, having connection experiences. So the connection experiences that I lead actually start with something you might think of as a scientific kind of observation. We're being very discerning and looking carefully at this tree plant that we're connecting with. But then we move into a more heart-based sensory perception and intuitive knowing. Well, once we have the sensory perception and intuitive knowing, then we can find out what the tree's life is like. Well, when we find out what the tree's life is like, we are actually communicating. That's the second C. We're actually beginning to have communication exchanges with that tree and plant. And with communication exchanges, we're recognizing the intelligence and the sacredness of that tree and plant. And when we recognize the intelligence, the sacredness, we then naturally flow into collaborating and co-creating. We collaborate and co-create toward a shared goal where everybody wins, as Jim talked about just a few minutes ago with the transplant of the spruces. So connection experiences, communication, collaboration, co-creation, the 4 C's.
I talked about working with the life energy of the trees and being in sync with their life energy. And, people will say, well, that's, this and that. People will say, that's a bunch of nonsense. Well, say what you will, but I'll tell you what, I save trees. We save trees. That's what we do. Okay. That's what we're up to. We're saving trees, and we're doing it every day. We're saving trees. That's what we're really doing. And we follow this. Yes, connecting, communicating, collaborating, and co-creating with the trees, coming from that new paradigm, moving forward in that, working with that life energy in the tree, working with the life force of the trees. That's what we do. And that's where people need to start coming from and start to moving in that direction. Want to help trees out? It isn't taking them down. We need these trees. We need them for oxygen. We need them for food, the trees and plants for food. We need all of that. We can't be manipulating and doing all these other things. We need this. Okay. So we need to be working with them, how they need to be worked with. That's what this is all about. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Jim, because you've just described step 3.
Good.
People learning the new skills, working with that life energy flow, restoring tree and plant health from the inside. That's step 3. And I want to just point out these words: consciously collaborative, mindful methods. That's what's so important, is because it's so easy to fall back into the human-centric attitudes, to think we know the answers. So we teach consciously collaborative, mindful methods. We teach new beliefs, actions, and skills. We teach them at our school, BioBalia-Institute-School.org. And we have many brands, many kinds of courses that we teach. But here's what's really important. We teach a new way of being that's partnership with nature. Yes, you're learning skills, you're learning how to do things, but it's not so much the doing, it's the being. It's the being in partnership with nature that Dr. Jim is so passionately talking about, and I'm trying to underline here. So let's finish the cycle now. So from step 1, new beliefs, new actions, new skills. What happens? We get new results. Dr. Jim has alluded to this. Trees, plants, crops, forests, ecosystems regain health. And once they're healthy, they can withstand those climate extremes that are not going away very soon. Then ecological balance and a livable planet are restored. And for the people that are doing this work, people are empowered. People feel a very satisfying or even a sacred connection with nature. So then they want to continue the cycle. They continue to live in respectful and mutual partnership. Take more of the new actions, learn more of the new skills, and do them out in their own backyards with their trees or in local parks. And then more new results appear. And then there's more incentive to be in partnership, to take more new actions, to really diligently do these skills, to feel empowered. And then this cycle takes over. This is the new paradigm, the new cycle of action. So at this critical point in time, let's take a moment now, take a deep breath, and imagine yourself braving the dangers and helping something begin to change. And imagine making a difference with this cycle: partnership, the 4 C's, being in the life energy flow, new skills, and new results. Just take a few breaths, a few moments now to imagine yourself making this difference. Thank you so much. And please do this on your own as well at another time. So we promised to show you some of the science. Just a few quick slides about the science that supports this cycle of thought, action, skills, and results. So the plant kingdom is alive and intelligent. Fritjof Capra did a beautiful job of describing the 3 new definitions of a living system that are now in operation, these definitions for at least the last 20 years. Living systems operate in feedback loops. They undergo dynamic change. But the one that's important to us here today is that they show cognition or intelligence. Well, have you been fortunate enough to watch a field of sunflowers from sunrise, moving their faces, following the sun to sunset? It's just amazing. But what's even more amazing is that the next sunrise, they're there greeting the sun again. That's some real intelligence. Now, the wonderful scientists, a global group, the Society for Plant Signaling and Behavior, has at their mission statement on plant intelligence just a whole variety of descriptions of plant intelligence. And we've separated out these 4, and we're going to focus on the second one today. But plants make behavioral choices. They intelligently manage inner resources. Dr. Jim will talk about that. They're information processing organisms, and they have complex communication systems. Bioenergy field research. Well, the wonderful scientists at heartmath.org have done research for over 20 years, and they've discovered that the heart is more than just a pump. It actually produces the human body's largest bioenergy field and does so much more than that. And animals and trees and plants also produce bioenergy fields, and these bioenergy fields overlap like drops in a pond. Well, when they're overlapping, we know from the concept of interference, it's a funny name, but the concept of interference, that information is shared and exchanged in those overlapping fields. That's the concept of interference. And all of this, of course, involves the use of right brain intuitive skills in addition to left brain logic. So you want to check out this article, The Electricity of Touch, at heartmath.org. But how do we know? Here's the important thing. How do we actually know in our practical lives that this really works?
Well, one thing is, if you own a dog or a cat, that dog or cat, if they look at you, you know exactly what they want. You intuitively know what that dog or cat wants. They want to be fed, they want to go out, they want to do this, they want to do that. And it's an intuitive connection. The cat doesn't talk to you either, and the dog doesn't talk to you either, but and it's you're connecting through that bioenergy field with that cat or that dog and overlapping the consciousness with that cat or the dog, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah. Overlapping consciousness. That's exactly what we say in our work. The good scientists at the Institute for Noetic Sciences have in their science position statement these statements as well as many others. Consciousness is regarded as the most basic component of reality, more basic than physical concepts like matter, energy, space, and time. Now, isn't that a very interesting statement? They're calling matter a physical concept. Well, what we say this means is that consciousness comes before form. It's senior to form. In the statement also, they say consciousness can perceive and influence non-locally. Well, that means that consciousness has a causal influence. It influences things at a distance. So our approach is that there is an overlap of consciousness between people and non-human intelligences. Trees and plants are non-human intelligences right here on this planet. And if you're interested in this consciousness being practically applied also with human healing, go to bodytalksystem.com.
So if trees and plants have intelligence, why can't they heal themselves? You know, first point is a big point. When they're sick, they get stuck or confused. I'll tell you what, I've really seen this, especially with trees that come out of fires, strong forest fires. All right, they are really totally confused. But all trees really, when they're stressed, they really get sick and they really get stuck or confused. What happens is this sequence of systems gets out of sync. You know, the uptake, the making food, all of that gets out of sync. They can't manage their inner resources. Where's my food? Where's the water? Where's it? They just kind of get disoriented. Then they can't grow. They fall out of community. Trees and plants operate in communities. There is no such thing really in the trees world. One trunk is not a tree. Multiple trunks is a tree. In the trees world, that's community. And then what happens is, so as they fall out of community, and then they get into a negative cycle of decline. And this is this negative cycle of decline, of not making enough food, insufficient circulation, not enough growth. So when they don't make enough food, they break down that food to drive the circulation. Well, if they don't have enough food, then they're driving insufficient circulation. They have insufficient circulation, they can't get the food out to the growing points. If they can't get the food out to the growing points, then they can't grow, and that feeds right back to not making enough food. The only way to repair this or heal this is to work from the inside out. Outside in won't fix this.
And that's where that common belief comes in. Well, I see a tree, it looks pretty bad, it looks sick, it's not going to repair, so we'll just cut it down. And we're saying, no, there is a chance to save these trees.
So let us explain the skills of consciously collaborative mindful methods. You know, just like people, trees and plants have parts and systems as well. You know, you have the roots, they uptake the water and nutrients, come through the trunk, get out into the leaves make the food, photosynthesis makes the food, okay, and then the circulation system distributes that food around to the growing points, and then the tree can grow. Well, that whole cycle can break down, all right? Just what I was saying a minute ago. That whole cycle can break down, not making enough food, insufficient circulation, little to no growth, and that can only be healed from the inside out, not doing stuff on the inside, on the outside. Sorry. So what are we trying to do here? We get into what can people do here? We get into a bioenergy overlap, a consciousness exchange with the tree, and we can move it from the negative cycle to the positive cycle. Make more food, drive and clear circulation, and grow. It's about getting the parts back operating again. It's about getting them back in sync again. It's about getting the tree back connected with its resources. It's reminding the tree what it needs to do. It's bringing the trees back into community again. It's all of those things. It's working with that natural intelligence of the tree. The tree knows how to do this. It just gets confused when it's sick, and it's possible to work with them for our intelligence, human intelligence, to communicate with the tree and plant intelligence and collaborate with them with that intelligence to help them move from that negative cycle to that positive cycle, or to move from being a stress tree back to being a healthy tree and being at optimum health. So how do we do this? Love the words of my friend here, Albert Einstein. Love them. Concerning matter, we have been all wrong. What you call matter is really energy whose vibration has been lowered as to be perceivable to the senses, whose vibration, energy, whose vibration has been lowered to be perceivable to the senses. There is no matter. There is only light and sound. That's what I do. I work with that energy, and I'm working in the light with that energy to help heal the trees from the inside out, not the outside in. That's what we're doing. So what do we do? How do I do this? Well, I think you got this idea already. I respect the tree's profound intelligence. Get in the zone with it. It's getting into that interface with the tree, getting into that bioenergy with the tree, getting in the light with that tree. I ask questions to find out how the tree is stuck or malfunction. I ask a lot of questions right at the beginning. Do you have enough food? Is your circulation working right? Is your photosynthesis working right? I want as much information as I can to kind of get an idea of what's not operating right inside of that tree. And then I help work with tree. I collaborate through the bioenergy and consciousness and overlap and intuitively interact and exchange information with that tree. I find out what's not operating right, and I work with that tree to get that back operating again. That's what I do. And I'm working with that life force and the life energy of the tree also at the same time, making sure that I am not interrupting that. I am not disturbing that in any way, that there's the natural flow of life energy or life force in that tree. So everything is working and all of that is happening. And I don't assume I know anything. I don't have any answers. And I remind the tree what it needs to do in order to recover. That's what we do. And it's just working with the tree step by step. Every tree is different. Okay, let me give you some examples of what I do. This is a tree in a greenhouse. I always like this example because you can see how sick this tree looks. It's in a greenhouse in Toronto, Canada. And what happened was, this was in May when I was there. But what happened is the heat went off in the middle of right in January. You know, Toronto gets pretty cold. So the tree was exposed to extreme cold. Well, the tree got sick, and then the insects started coming in. So they started spraying insecticide on the tree. So they had excess insecticide. The tree was already grown in poor soil. And what happens is people say, well, you know, make sure you water that tree. Make sure you water that tree. They really wanted this tree to live because it was a Malaysian tree living in this greenhouse in Toronto. So I put my hands, I happened to be teaching a class at this time. So I put my hands on the tree and I started to work with it. And I said, okay, do you have enough food reserves in your roots? Yeah, I do. Okay, good. Can you move that food into your circulation system? Get that food up into your circulation system? Yes, I think I can. Can you get that food out to the growing points to grow new leaves? Yeah, I think I can do that. And all of a sudden, what happened, I'll cut the story short here a little bit. All of a sudden, what happened, there was this shift of energy upwards. Boom. I could feel it. I could feel the energy shift of that tree moving in an up direction. Like, I'm going to grow again. Okay. I'll tell you what, I was there in May. I went back in October. When I went back, that was a 6 or 8 hour drive for me, something like that, to get back up to Toronto. And I didn't call anybody to find out if that tree survived. I just went because I knew that tree survived. And I went back up there, and that's what the tree looked like when I went back up in October. And and then they're starting to worry about that one point. Boy, that's getting close to the class. What do we do now? You know? And so it's like another problem, but that's all right. That's what this is all about. But that's how I work with the trees and the plants. Go ahead, Boss. Next one. Love this tree. This tree was in Connecticut. It was transplanted in July of the year before I was there. In August of that same year, dropped all of its leaves. Plants planted in July, in August, dropped all of its leaves, okay, instantly. Well, so the tree was, you know, kind of in a lot of trouble. So I come the next year and found out about me, asked me to come work on this tree. So I did. I started working with the tree, and I said, okay, how are your food reserves? Oh, I got some food reserves. All right. Can you drive some circulation into the tree? Yes, I can. Can you get food out to those buds that you have there on because it had some buds? Can you get food out to those buds so you can push out new leaves? No. Oh, why not? Because I only have a I only have a small amount of food reserves. Remember, it dropped its leaves the year before early. I only have a low amount of food reserves. And if I don't, and if those leaves don't come out, then I'm a goner. I won't live. Follow that? Okay. So the tree is concerned about living. So it said, I'm just going to sit here. Okay. So now what do we do? So I started working with the tree some more, work with the circulation some more, work with the food some more, work with the buds some more to start to get the buds to rapidly divide. There was a whole line of oaks on the other side of this tree, and I asked those oaks to give support to this tree, both energy support, and they can also give food support to the tree. Okay, long story. I'm not going into how they do it, but they do it through the energy. They can do that. And so I said, okay. So then I gave it one more try. I said, okay, now look, I've given you the support. You have support of those oaks. You have some energy from them. You've got some food reserves. You think you might want to give this a try. I've worked with your buds. I've helped your buds out. You want to give your buds a try to push out those buds to push out new leaves, because here's what will happen. If you push out new leaves, then you're able to make more food for yourself. And then you'll go on and live and be a healthy tree. Otherwise, like I said, what happens is you'll just use up all your food reserves, and that'll be it. Tree says, maybe. Okay, that's about as what we got. Okay. So, all right. So I left, and I already warned the owner. I told the owner of the tree, I said, look, find out what your guarantee is on this tree. You usually get a year guarantee on the tree. And I said, find out what your guarantee is on this tree, because it may or may not make it. I just can't be 100% sure. He sends me this picture in the middle there 3 days later. He says, the tree is budding out. New leaves. I got new leaves on my tree. He's thrilled because he paid a lot to get that's a big tree to get transplanted in there on this house. This was a new house. He had the tree transplanted in. That's a fair amount of money to get that tree transplanted in there. And he's just thrilled because then the family is still thrilled too, because now this tree is beginning to bud out and leaf out. That's what that tree looked like in July of that same year. So that's a good story. But that's what goes on for these trees. These next story. This is about some sycamores. What happened with these sycamores? I'm trying to cut this a little bit short. But what happened to these sycamores is they were in a drought in 2022. Okay, the year before this. And then what happens? So in a drought, trees and plants don't make a lot of food for themselves. Okay, so they don't have a lot of food reserves. What happened for these trees then in spring of 2023, they started to push out leaves. All right. Then a disease comes along, and this is very common. Anthracnose comes along, wipes out the leaves. Well, normally the tree has plenty of food reserves that it can just send up new food reserves. The cells begin to divide in the buds, and they push out new leaves. Normally not a problem. But this year it was a major problem because that tree did not have many food reserves in the roots anymore because of the drought the previous year. So what I had to do is work with the tree, get the tree, push out some leaves, make some food, and start to push out some leaves, make some food, have that food circulate around the tree out to new buds, other buds, get those buds to start to grow leaves. Then that food circulates around, gets out to more buds, and just gradually the tree started to put out more leaves, more leaves, more leaves. And by September, the tree finally looked like this, and that's where it ended up. But that's the kind of work we have to do with the trees, is help, because in this condition with low food and and the condition of losing all their leaves, again, they're used to losing all their leaves. That does happen periodically. It depends on the conditions for the anthracnose to come in and wipe off the leaves. But in this condition of not having the food reserve, the tree is kind of gets stuck. Now, remember I talked about that getting stuck? That's what's happening there, and they're not quite sure what to do. Next one. This is a tree in a this is a tree in one of the fire areas of California, and again, it's a little like the sycamores. What happens when their resources are diminished? Well,
Yep.
I said to the tree, I said, it's okay, you can leave that. I said to the tree, okay, do you have enough food reserves? Yes, I do. And can you drive your circulation? Yes, I can. Can you get food out to some tissues where you can differentiate the tissues? Because remember, everything is burned on the outside of that tree. Okay, so I'm asking, are your circulation tubes good? Yes. Can you drive some food out to some tissues and differentiate some tissues and start to put out some new leaves, even through the burnt bark? Yes, I think I can do that. See, what happens is with trees, especially in fire situations, or if they're extremely stressed, what happens is after a fire, what they'll do is they will always try to grow, but they're disconnected from the resources. Their parts, systems, and functions are out of sync. And then what happens is they start to grow and then they fail. Okay. So what I do is I get in there, help get those parts, systems, and functions back in sync, get them connected to their resources, the food, the water, get them connected to that so they can start to put out new shoots. You can see this little shoot coming out of the bark. That's what it is. Get them into this cycle of starting where they put out new leaves. Then they can make more food. That food can break down, drive a little circulation, start to grow, start to get that happening. And then what happens is, go ahead, boss it. And then this is what this tree did. Okay, it started to grow. It's a healthy tree and continued to be a nice healthy tree. And this is the befores and afters of this tree. This was before, and this is the after. This is how that tree turned out. Again, what happens is the trees get confused when they get stressed, and it's important to work with them from the inside out to get that parts and systems and functions connected, get them back operating again from the inside, get all those parts and systems working together again. That's how this all works, and it works from working with the trees from the inside out. Go ahead. This is a little bit of a case about talking about disease, okay, and about balancing in nature. All right, this disease is Phytophthora on these trees. Common tree care methods to spray that with something to try and kill the disease. What I do is I get the tree back healthy again. And don't forget that disease organism, that has a consciousness too. And it's possible in the bioenergy overlap to overlap with that consciousness of that disease. So here's the agreement. The agreement is the tree gets healthy, and we ask the organism to move back down to the roots. It lives in the soil anyway. Okay, normally what happens is when the tree gets stressed, then it moves up onto the tree. Okay, and will literally kill that tree. But anyway, the agreement is, so we ask the tree to get healthy. We work with the tree to bring it back to health, get its parts, systems, and functions connected, get it start to growing again. Then we tell the organism, okay, or work with you, collaborate with the organism, ask the organism, look, can you move back down to the roots? The tree is getting healthy again. It will feed you at the roots. Right around the root surface, there's what they call the rhizosphere of the roots. And a root puts out root exudates. The plant puts out root exudates. Okay, that'll feed that organism at the roots. So guess what? The organism wins, it stays alive, and the tree stays alive, and they both live together. That's what balance in nature is all about. That's what I'm talking about. This is not control. This is about the disease and the tree working together so they can both live together and be healthy. That's what this is all about. You can see what happened to the disease the following year, completely cleared. And then in future years, you can see again, once again, how clear that stayed. It didn't come back. And this is that tree just a few years ago. Okay, just how healthy that tree turned out. Next picture, Tasha. So in summary, this is what we do. We exchange information between human intelligence and the tree's intelligence to restore the health of the tree from the inside out. It's a bioenergy overlap. It's an overlap of consciousness. It's moving from the negative cycle to the positive cycle. This is the best way I can describe it, is with these cycles: make more food, drive and clear the circulation, and grow.
So now is the turning point. Humanity and the plant kingdom together. People and trees together can restore a livable planet. And we can do it through living in this cycle: partnership, new actions, the 4 C's, new skills, getting in the flow of life energy. And the results then is the planet begins to recover. So there's more partnership, more connection, communication, collaboration, and co-creation, and more flow, mutual flow with life energy. So who's going to get this done? Well, Hillel the Elder said this 2,000 years ago. If not you, then who? And if not now, then when? So now is the turning point where thinking can change. New actions can bring forth a livable planet. So we can all connect with this life energy flow, with the tree's life energy, and heal the tree. And we can use mindful healing methods to restore health and balance to nature from the inside out. Okay. So thank you so much.
And there will be one more thing. We'll allow a few questions, and then we have one more thing. I feel a little like Steve Jobs here, okay, with Apple Computer. And I have one more thing to talk about before I'm done today, okay, and that's the connection of the trees to the cosmos, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But first, we'll take any questions anybody might have.
Thank you, Basha. Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much. I've been sitting here looking at the orchids in the room and the various plants while you've been talking, and realizing that I need to deepen my learning into the mother tongue. Just when you think you're starting, do you know there's a big difference between communing and communicating?
Yes.
Yes.
And you communicate, man.
Yeah.
And I just want to acknowledge that and salute you,
Thank you.
for this really pioneering work for our human family as we start to learn the language of nature, in an understanding that whatever sentient beings we choose to interact with, that opens up the possibility of, if you can talk to trees, you can talk to dolphins.
Exactly. You're exactly it. That's it. Or any non-human intelligence, I mean,
Yeah. So I'd love to have you jump into the trees' connections with the cosmos.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, let's go. Let's go. All right.
Let's go. Let me get that queued up here.
Oh, you have slides?
Yeah, it's about 2 or 3.
So
Perfect.
this initial breakthrough information, this is not complete by any means. We've been getting information for about the last 2 years in little bits and pieces. And so we're sure to get more. This is the connection of the plant kingdom to universal or non-earth energies and intelligences.
So these are giant sequoia trees. For any of you who are not familiar, you can see that's me sitting in a little chair next to that tree. So you can just get an idea how big that tree is. Okay, it's huge. And they live in groves. This is the only place on on Earth where they live naturally. Okay, people have moved them elsewhere, but naturally, this is the only place where they live. and it's in the Sierra Nevada mountains, up about 5,000 feet, 8,000 feet. They live in groves in a swath about, I don't know, 150, 200 miles wide by maybe about 400 miles long. That's it in the Sierra Nevadas. And that's where they live. You can see that box there, that rectangle box, and that's where they live. This particular tree, I asked it last night. I said, well, I know I already knew the tree was over 2,000 years old. I knew that. I knew it was 2004 at least. So I asked it last night. I said, I know by now you're 2005. And it said, yeah. And I said, well, how old are you? He says, I said, how old should I tell the people you are? And it says, tell them I'm almost 2006, like a little kid, I'm five and I'm almost six. Well, this tree is saying I'm 2005, but I'm almost 2006, got a little personality here. Okay.
We call this tree home tree.
Home tree.
It's our name for this tree because it's so amazing. And it's in the Calaveras State Park, the Big Tree State Park in California. It's a wonderful park.
And like I say, they do grow in groves. Go ahead, Washington. Go to the next thing.
Now this is Jim's drawing.
So I got to give you my drawing because this is what I've been shown. All right. And that's why I drew it. And I just did my drawing. This is what I got. So all the trees I know that all the trees and plants on Earth, they're all connected. They're all connected as one. Okay. They're connected energetically. This is all energy. They're all connected. And even, I talk about communities all the time where they're connected part to part, system to system. Everything is connected between the trees. And then you get communities breaking out and you finally come into the plant kingdom. So you get groups of communities and you finally come into the whole plant kingdom. And the whole plant kingdom is connected on Earth. And the sequoias are part of that. Okay. They're part of that. Their parts are all connected in with all of the other trees and plants. No different. Absolutely no different. But what happens is there's a little something different here. And I got this, and I'll tell you, this started to come to me about 2 years ago. I'm working on the giant sequoias, helping them out because they're in trouble right now. They're having trouble with climate change, climate shifts. They like cooler temperatures, and naturally, as the warmer temperatures start moving up the mountains, they're becoming in more and more trouble. And then what happens is they get stressed, the insects come in and diseases come in. And so I'm working with them, but then I get messages from them. Okay. And so this is how this all started. So what I get is this is the picture that they showed me. All right. Is that the giant sequoias they connect with all the other parts of the trees and plants, but they really connect at the root level with the trees and the plants. All right. All the trees and the plants, they connect with the root levels of the plant kingdom. Why the root level? I don't know 100%, but I kind of guess that it has to do with the elements, earth, because the roots are in the earth, air, there's air in the soil, fire, there's heat, the soil warms and cools, there's heat, and water, there's always water in the earth. So I think it has to do with the elements, not 100% sure, but that's really where they connect. And what happens is the giant sequoia connects with all the trees and the plants and takes that information out and kind of like broadcast, I want to say, I'll use the word broadcast, and broadcast that out to the universal intelligence and universal energy. Okay. And what happens is it's out and it's in, it's perpetual. Okay. It goes out and it's in and it's perpetual so that the trees and the plants benefit. What's the universal intelligence? Well, as the universe grows, they need to be growing. Okay. And what's the other part of that is all the trees and the plants need to be in universal rhythm. The universal rhythm is the heartbeat of the universe. They all need to be in that universal rhythm. They need to be in connection with that universe, with that universal intelligence, that universal energy. They need to be in connection with that. They can connect themselves to the universe, but they prefer to do it through the giant sequoias. And what I'm getting is the reason that is number one is because of the remote location of the giant sequoias. And number two is because the giant sequoias are not interfered with very much. Remember, I talked about that life force, not interfering with that life force. And what they do is they can connect and they can connect through the giant sequoias and then out to the universe. And that's what I'm getting from them. Let's see. I just want to see if there's anything else I want to say. I have one more slide I want to show you in a minute. No, that'll be fine for this slide. Go ahead, Basha. Move to the next slide. Yeah, this slide. Okay. So it's almost as if you see where I have Earth here. Again, this is my drawings and this is what I've been shown. Okay. And so I can't, and what I'm saying here, Earth is all the trees on plants on Earth. It's almost like they're the root ball of the giant sequoias. Okay. And then the giant sequoias are the energy, take the information and pass that out to the universe, and the universe brings the energy, brings the universal rhythm and the universal intelligence back into the trees and plants. Again, the trees and plants, I've known this. They need to be connected to the universe. They can do it themselves, but they're doing it through the giant sequoias. And that's the picture I have. Now you say, are there other tree-like figures on other planets? Yes, there are. But they're not in our solar system. Okay. I don't know where they're at, but there are other tree-like figures, consciousnesses. Good. That's the word I was looking for, on other planets. Yes, they might not look like trees, but they're consciousnesses. Okay. Well, they also communicate with this universal energy and this universal intelligence. So what happens is the universal intelligence, they connect with the universal intelligence, universal energy, and the trees on Earth connect with them. And then the universe kind of collects all that information and passes it back to both. Okay, both the tree-like consciousnesses on other planets and the trees and plants on Earth. That's about where I'm at right now with this whole thing. The piece I do want to say here is a couple of points. The real thing here is about not interfering. This comes back to not interfering with the life force of the trees and the plants, and not interfering and doing things on the outside, the human-centric work that we get into. It's working with their energy, working with their life force. That's what's so key important, because they know what they want to do. They can make this communication and back again. They can have this, and it's very important that we don't interrupt that. That's very, very important that we're not interfering with that. That's that key piece. And then the opportunity is for the trees and the plants to all become very, very healthy. The other piece is if we can learn just what Jim said here a few minutes ago, if we can learn to communicate with trees and plants, okay, they're non-human intelligences. If we can learn to communicate with any non-human intelligence, no matter what it is. And I honestly believe, this is just me, I'm just going to tell you a little far out, but there's non-human intelligence waiting to appear on Earth. They are waiting to appear on Earth. They're here. They're here in a dimensional space. They can't show up because we're not ready to see them. We're not ready to communicate with them, but they will. The minute we get our act together and understand they're here, understand that there are non-human intelligences that are part of our Earth. They are very key part to our Earth, and for me, it's the trees and the plants. Very key part to that is that once we learn that, then they will begin to appear, and we will be able to communicate with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Basha. It's so extraordinary, the resonance between what you're saying about the trees and the cosmic conduit that they provide. That's what Damenher says. That's what the Secret Life of Plants says. That's what countless indigenous tribes around the world say. So to have someone of your kind of scientific rarefication come to the same conclusion is very heartwarming because it's so profoundly true, and it revolutionizes our understanding of tree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And it's really, it's this channel to me. This information comes, I'm started working with
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm working with the giant sequoias. I'm working to heal them. And then all of a sudden this information starts coming in.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It started 2 years ago. And then last year I took a little bit more and I get a little bit more and you start, okay, and that's what comes in.
Good. Well, listen, thank you both so much. We're getting close to the end of our time, and both Basha and Jim will join the after chat, everyone, when we adjourn here in a few minutes. But in closing, I just wanted to touch on two things that I neglected to say at the beginning. Such was my enthusiasm to introduce my two good friends. Number one is today is February 2nd. And this is St. Bridget's Day, that extraordinary woman in 6th century Ireland who was both a Druid shaman and a Christian nun. And in her person and in her metaphysics, she bridged the Druidic and the Christian realms. And it was on the 2nd of February in honor of St. Bridget that I started my tenure back in February 2nd, 2005 as president of the university, which I continue to do today. So this is an anniversary day for me.
Beautiful.
And
Congratulations.
I just want to note that for everyone. And then secondly, I want to say that on Sunday, we have a very important course by an astrologer of some renown, Carolyn Casey, who's going to talk about the astrology of 2024. And since we know from the Kogi prophecies and even from what Basha and Jim have been saying about the end of an old paradigm and the beginning of a new consciousness, this year, and I would say the next several years, are going to be particularly eventful and turbulent, and understanding that the planets, the stars, like the trees, are conduits of communication that enable anyone of the human family who has eyes to see and ears to hear, as the scripture says, can glean the wisdom that they need for how they need to navigate an extraordinarily, dramatically turbulent period that is now going to unfold for human civilization. So this is one reason why we were talking about the white lions yesterday. It's why we were talking about the trees. We're going to have more on interspecies communication so that we can all start learning the mother tongue. But the stars and the planets are also astrology is part of the mother tongue.
Right.
And so as we leave today, I just want to encourage that. I put the link in the chat. I'll put it in again so that you can sign up. It's at 10 o'clock Pacific time on Sunday, the 4th. And so you're all now welcome to join our after chat. And this will bring us to a close. But Basha, Jim, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Jim.
Thank you
So much.
And
Thank you for
hope to
having us.
see you again soon.
Hope to see you soon.
All right. Be
Yeah.
well, everybody. We'll see you on Monday. And then next week, we're going to have a 5-day program on artificial intelligence.
Awesome.
And what's the latest on
Oh, my.
that extraordinarily explosive domain? All right, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. Bye for now.